Good morning, everybody. So Claire Jordan asks, why is creationism so popular in the United States and not in Europe? So this is my answer, which is going to be radically different than some of the other answers that I perused through. I saw one answer that was accusing creationists of racism, which, if you have any common sense, it's just the opposite. Because evolutionists are the racists, because if you study, if you know the full title of the Origin of Species, it includes the term "in favored races." It is a racist document, and evolution is a racist ideology that inspired Hitler very much. Hitler wasn't coming out of a creationist ideology; he was coming out of a eugenicist, evolutionist ideology. But if the whole ideology of creationism is that we are all the descendants of Adam and Eve. So there's really only one race, as the human race, and these various variations that we find are not really that important according to the creationist model. And then, of course, the self-proclaimed anti-racists will say that that's racist. So that's the world that we live in, because they're really racists. And if you study the history of the Democrat Party and so forth, you know that it's all based in racism, eugenics, and so forth. And a lot of the ideology of the Democratic Party and the practices, such as being pro-abortion and pro-gun control, are firmly rooted in racism. The ideology of the abortion movement is firmly rooted in eugenics, the same ideology that inspired the Nazis, and the gun control movement, is firmly rooted in trying to keep racial minorities, that the left view as races, whereas the American right is a colorblind ideology, embracing Martin Luther King's ideology of judging people by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. And the left in America, who are mostly evolutionists, everything is about color of the skin. Everything is about Darwin's ideas of the favored races. And to accuse America, which is the most diverse country in the world, of being racist, and the Europeans, who are all, pretty much, very racially segregated, somehow that the Europeans are the ones who are not the racists, and the Americans are somehow the racists, is just totally ignorant of history and fact. But the real reason why ideologies such as creationism are so much more popular in America than they are in Europe is for the same reason that the European churches are all empty. And the American churches are, for the most part, doing pretty well. And that there's a great diversity of the religious landscape, both conservative and liberal in America, which you don't have that same diversity in Europe. And the reason is because America is not only a place of the free market in the economic sense, but also in the spiritual sense, that we have a libertarian approach to religion in America, a Jeffersonian approach to religion in America, which tells us that there is no established religion, as opposed to in Europe, where the churches are all pretty much run by the government in most European countries. They've been relegated to pretty much being museums and not really being places of worship for the most part, except for maybe a few old ladies who still come to church every now and then, and a few priests and so forth. But for the most part, the type of vibrant religion that you see in America is pretty much absent in Europe, with the possible exception of the growing Islam in Europe, which again is more of the old world type of Islam, as opposed to in America, where you have the more diverse approaches to Islam as well, and also the more liberty-minded, the very American approaches to Islam. that you have in America as opposed to what you have in Europe, which the Muslims in Europe are not as integrated into society as they are in America, and so there tends to be more radicalism in Europe among the Muslims than there is in America, where you have a much more liberal Islam. But in any event, the point that I'm saying is that government running everything, big government running everything, the socialist approach to religion, the socialized religion that you have in Europe among religious people, is what is causing the failure of religion in Europe. And therefore, and those people who are religious are much more homogenized because of the lack of religious liberty in Europe, as opposed to in America, where you have, because of the libertarian approach to religion, you have much more diversity, which would include things that maybe some people might see as being on the fringe, like creationism. But the truth of the matter is that this approach, this libertarian approach, leads to the diversity, which is, I believe, an authentic American conservative value of diversity, not in the way that the left tries to impose diversity for diversity's sake in order to divide and conquer people into demographic groups, but rather an authentic diversity of ideas that gives people the opportunity to explore different ideas, and even in America, start new religions. So for example, American-based religions like the Jehovah's Witnesses, who are not creationists, by the way, and the Mormons, of which there are different approaches even within Mormonism concerning creationism and a theistic approach to evolution as opposed to an atheistic one. Those religions are, even though they send missionaries out to these countries, they're very much persecuted. To this day, in Russia, for example, people are put in prison for being part of the Jehovah's Witness religion and called a cult and this and that, because you don't have that type of religious freedom. And yet, how big is the Orthodox Church in Russia? Meaning, you would think that now that communism has fallen, the Orthodox Church should grow. I think there are more Russian Orthodox or Eastern Orthodox churches in Pennsylvania than there are in any similar sized area in Russia. And they are much more active than they are in the old countries. So that's my answer, is really because of the socialized religion in Europe. Just like socialized everything else, socialism breeds mediocrity, and it breeds conformity and uniformity and homogeny. And so that's why you don't have as much diversity in Europe among religious ideas as you do in America. And that's my answer. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. We'll see you later.